they can have it. Reinforce the west.
Hey guys, it is Neb, and today I'll be running through 7 things that I believe are underrated and not used enough in Battlefront 2. I'll also be giving my best tips on how you guys can use them and how to be successful with them. I know you guys will be keen to get stuck into this, so without further ado, here are 7 underrated things in Battlefront 2 and how to use them. First up, we have the Officer's SE-44C, which I've noticed a lot of people have actually mentioned in my comment section. The thing is though that I don't really see many people using this weapon in any games, which tells me one of 2 things. 1, that people don't know about it, or 2, they think it's trash. Initially the gun isn't great, but once you complete the challenges for it and you unlock the rapid fire and reduced recoil attachments, this gun quickly becomes one of the best in the game in my opinion. As you guys will see right here, it has a ridiculously fast fire rate and a very long overheat, which means you can get off a lot of damage before having to let it cool down. In this example, I'm able to defeat both Emperor Palpatine and Bosk just on my own by catching them off guard. Now I would say that the main downfalls of the weapon are the damage drop off at range, as well as having recoil that is quite a bit harder to control and manage compared to the other weapons, especially at a distance. So I'd suggest using this weapon in close quarter maps because, as you guys will now know, it has the ability to take out enemies very quickly up close and also to take out multiple enemies before it overheats. So when you're using the SE, make sure you're utilizing all of the cover around you and flanking as often as you can, because this is where the blaster really shines. I really think that this blaster with the right attachments is worth the grind it takes to obtain, and I would suggest it to everyone who hasn't tried it out yet, especially if you enjoy playing as the officer class. So next up we have something which I only started using recently, and which really has actually surprised me over how good it was. Now I'm talking about the Liuv on Starkiller Base, I think that's how you say it right, Liuv, and the Landspeeder on Tatooine. Of all of the vehicles that fall under the speeder category, I really think that these ones are the best. They only cost you 200 battle points, you can easily get these in the second life of a match, and they can be used to achieve really big kill streaks and thousands of battle points. Now I've found that when using these, the best way to do well with them is to use the same basic combat techniques that I like to use when I'm playing as infantry or blaster heroes. So basically, what I'll do is I'll find an enemy and strafe side to side while shooting at them. Now this is what I do when I play as infantry, it works pretty well, and with the Liuv and the Landspeeder, they can both move quickly side to side, and they have splash damage on their blasters, so as long as you're shooting at the feet of enemies or in their general vicinity, you will be doing damage to them. Now the last thing that you want to do in these is to stay still, because that makes you very vulnerable. You actually can get sniped out of them, like the pilot can die in the speeder. So if you're moving around, the actual vehicle getting destroyed takes a lot longer than being able to kill the pilot. If you float between cover, you can quickly regenerate your vehicle's health and attack again. Also, these speeders have the added advantage of being able to run enemies over and insta-kill them, which is something that I like to do. It's pretty fun. It's really good for taking out groups of enemies who are unaware of where you are. If you sneak up behind some enemies, you can take them out really quickly. Or you can also use it when your blaster is overheated. Using this tactic, you can easily rack up enough battle points for a hero in a very short span of time, which gives you great momentum moving forward in the match. She definitely isn't close to being the best hero in the game at all, But I really think that Iden is very underrated as a hero. Obviously her abilities could use a buff, but I do think that the main problem is that people just aren't playing her in the right way. Naturally, when you're playing as a hero, you want to be aggressive and push up on enemies, and I understand that, but this just doesn't work with Iden. She doesn't have the offensive presence or the health required to perform that type of playstyle. In my eyes, Iden has two main tools that you really want to use the most: her secondary fire and her personal shield. Her secondary fire is by far her best offensive tool, and this is because it allows her to accumulate damage and eliminations from a safe place, and this is where she shines. When she isn't directly confronting enemies, but utilizing angles, verticality, and cover to her advantage. She's really effective at controlling choke points and objectives like this because of the splash damage her secondary fire has. The personal shield you can use if enemies rush you, or if someone runs at you with Vanguard or something that can do a lot of damage to you. You can pop the personal shield to try and avoid that damage. And her primary fire on her TL50 also does a lot of damage, and this can be used in between secondary fires because Iden has this really special thing where she can use the primary fire in between secondary fires while secondary fire is cooling down, so that's a really good thing to keep in mind with Iden as well. So this acts as a great backup to finish off enemies who you might have weakened with your secondary fire, or if it's still cooling down, you can finish off enemies using the primary blaster, which actually is very good, but I just think the secondary fire is better. In Heroes and Villains, you basically want to use the same tactic as you would in Galactic Assault. Stay as far away from the enemies as you can, and provide support with your secondary fire. If you get rushed, which happens a lot, her Droid is a good way to fend off enemies because it does stun them, and it allows you to get off lots of damage, as well as opening up distance between you and your enemy. When you've stunned someone, I would say that using the primary fire is the better option than using the secondary fire, and that's just because the secondary fire can only be shot once while the person is stunned, because the stun only lasts a certain amount of time, so you can only get off one secondary fire. So I would actually recommend going for headshots with the primary fire when they're stunned. As you guys will see in this footage, I'm using Iden, basically doing what I'm describing. However, in this match, it's actually a 3v4 match where my team was down a player. So it was a bit of a struggle, but I was still able to get a lot of points and come out on top of the leaderboard by using these tactics. Moving on now, the A280 CFE blaster on the Specialist class is a very underrated blaster in my opinion. Now this one was one of the most popular blasters in the beta, but I do rarely ever see it getting use in the full game. As someone who likes to be aggressive and he likes to push up, this is my best option if I want to push up while using the Specialist class. I really enjoy the 3 burst mode on this one as it recoils upwards, so when you aim at the torso of a player it actually goes up and headshots them. And it also means that you can drag your crosshair in between bursts to readjust your shots to where the player is. It's a very powerful blaster which can one-burst all types of enemies, including heavies, if you land headshots. If you do use this weapon with the Marksman star card, you'll rarely have to cool down your blaster because headshots will reset your overheat. Not to mention that it is much more forgiving in close range gunfights than the other Specialist blasters that have slower fire rates. When used in conjunction with my next point, this blaster can be really rewarding to use. The Repulsor cannon is probably the least used star card ever. In all seriousness, I've only been hit by this thing once since launch, and I've played a lot. But in my honest opinion, it's one of the best star cards for the Specialist class. It replaces the shock grenade, which I don't really find useful anyway, and it gives you a really unique way to deal with all of your enemies. The repulsor cannon can be used to knock groups of enemies back. It can be used to knock over individuals, which allows you to then take them out when they are on the ground. It can be used to knock enemies off of ledges to their deaths.
They want the east side that bad they can have it. Reinforce the west.
And it also provides a really effective way of dealing with heroes. Now, the main drawback of this weapon is obviously its range, as it can only be used on enemies in a very small vicinity to the player. Now, this means that enemies have to get very close for you to hit them with it, which is why I recommend using it with the A280 CFE, as it allows you to finish them off before they get back up. Now, I love using this weapon as a counter to heavies, because it provides a really good counter to deal with them, as they have double your health and a shield as well. If you knock a heavy over though, you can deal a lot of damage to them and often kill them before they get up. Now, as you guys will see in this example, I obviously did fail with my attempt to kill the heavy, but that was only because my aim was terrible and I got one shot by explosive sentry, which, come on, it's a little bit overpowered if we're honest. But the process was there. I actually did do the tactic effectively, I just failed at the end with my aiming. But in all seriousness, you guys need to try out this star card. I can guarantee you that you'll never see me using the specialist class without this in my loadout. It has the added bonus of being extremely hilarious and fun to use as well, as you watch your enemies flail around as you knock them back, so I definitely recommend you guys try this one out. Let me know how it goes down in the comments if you do try it out as well. For anyone who likes playing as Boba Fett, or who doesn't actually like playing as any heroes, I would definitely suggest you guys try out the Jumptroopers and the Rocket Droid more often. Personally, I find these two characters better than all of the other aerial characters, so I'm just going to focus on these two types for this video. Now, I found myself doing better with these reinforcements than I do with Boba Fett, even though they do have less health and they only have one rocket, compared to Boba Fett's greater health and rocket barrage. What really stands out to me about these guys is how mobile they are and how good they are with their primary blasters. Compared to Boba Fett's EA3, which is trash by the way, these guys have some really powerful blasters with really good range. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that the Republic Jumptrooper's blaster actually does more damage than the Rocket Droid at the trade-off for less health. At the base level, the Jumptrooper has 200 health and the Rocket Droid 300, which does lead me to believe that the Jumptrooper's blaster is stronger, but I can't confirm this, I haven't tested it or anything. But I absolutely love playing these reinforcements, and I don't think that they are respected as much as they actually should be. They can cover large distances very quickly and can cut really sharp angles with their dash ability, which allows them to weave in and out of cover super quickly. It also means that you can dash out, take down an enemy, and jetpack away if you take any damage and need to retreat. This class is very built for a hit and run type playstyle, so if that's your type of playstyle, you should definitely play as these guys more. Using this playstyle, you should always try to be on the move and catch your enemies off guard. Because they can regenerate all of their health, they can take more damage overall than lots of heroes when played correctly. As I did say before, I do find these guys better than Boba Fett, and I have been able to go on bigger streaks with them than I have been with Boba. If you continually alternate between all of your jetpacks, your dash and your jump, you become an extremely hard target to hit, and you can really hit the enemy hard from lots of different positions. As you guys will see in this footage, I'm on a huge tear, and the only reason I get killed is because I get shocked by Chewbacca. Now, the only reason I die here is because I'm not able to use that mobility that makes these reinforcements so strong. I'm stopped in my tracks by Chewbacca and I can't move, so that's why I die. So if you guys are struggling to use heroes, or you like playing fast paced, try out these guys because they are cheaper to buy, they're harder to hit, and they are often more fun to play as than heroes. Finally, we have my favourite, and probably in my opinion the most satisfying hero to use. The hero that I'm talking about is of course Lando Calrissian, who I think is very dangerously underrated in both Galactic Assault and Heroes vs Villains. Apart from his smoke grenade, which obviously isn't that great, Lando has some really strong tools which he can use to dominate any lobby. In GA, you want to get Lando up on a good vantage point and use his sharpshot ability to pick off groups or individuals who are running in the open. When you fully upgrade this ability, it has some insane range and can be used to take out whole spawn waves who are running together. It's also a really good option to use if you get rushed by a bunch of enemies. You can quickly use a sharpshot to take them all out, all in one go. His shocking trap is easily his best tool in heroes versus villains, which you can use to devastating effect if you do use it correctly. There are a couple of ways which you can use the shocking trap, and the first one is you can place it on the ground and wait for enemies to come near, and then detonate it. So as you guys will see, I do this to ambush Kylo Ren here. Basically, I put it down, he runs towards me because I know he's coming towards me because I'm the target, so he runs towards me, I detonate it as soon as he comes close, and then I headshot him to death, basically. And the other way you can use it is to chuck it at enemies when you see them and then detonate it straight away. Now this is my preferred option, and that's because when using the Quick Shock star card, it actually makes the radius and the length of the shock greater, which allows you more time to damage the enemy. Now when you shock an enemy, make sure to aim for the headshots, and you can take down even the strongest of villains, i.e. Darth Vader. The shock trap is good for defending against rushing enemies in GA as well. Or if your blaster is overheated, it's a good way to buy yourself some much needed time. Because you have both the shocking trap and the sharp shot at your disposal, these abilities can be used to get yourself out of some really sticky situations, which you often find yourself in as a hero. Lando is one of my go-to heroes due to how versatile he is. He can be used as a support, or he can deal huge amounts of damage and rack up plenty of kills using his different abilities. I would definitely recommend trying him out to you guys if you're looking for someone new to master in Battlefront 2. But anyway guys, that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed or you learned anything new, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're looking for more tips in the future. Let me know if I missed anything down in the comments also guys. But I'm going to bounce, and I'll see you all in the next video. Another map guide coming soon.
Everything around me